All right, we're moving on to 4.3, Mr. Luazon, Mr. Miller. Come on out.
So, before Jimmy and Alan get up there, we always do our best kind of this time of year to put anything on the school board's radar that might something be new in the upcoming budget process. So the budget will be here in 4 to 5 weeks. I think this can be a priority we discuss in the budget season. I don't know the bottom line yet. As we all know, it really comes down to that bottom line and all the priorities that go into it. But I think we learned a lot as a school system from the master planning process. What our needs are, and I think, Jimmy and Alan and others have done great work to kind of really think through, can we do that with our fields? We have extensive field systems, and if we don't take care of them, we're gonna have problems. So I just want to turn it over to Jimmy and Alan with that context.
Thanks for having me. So I'm here tonight alongside our Buildings and Grounds Director to present the opportunity for a professional evaluation of our athletic fields at Londonderry High School. The top priority is always the health and safety of our student athletes and community when it comes to our school facilities. We are also striving for continual improvement and optimal utilization of our resources. To sustain these goals, it's essential to evaluate the condition and continuously plan for our athletic facilities. Field Study Committee was established in the early 1980s by the school board to initially study the safety in existing fields. Over time, this group developed more fields in our high school and our high school track as programs and teams were added and needed more space. The goal of the committees was to give each sport their own practice and game field, which was achieved. Most of the fields on the school property were built through the efforts of volunteers, which has greatly benefited the district as well as our community. After the passing of the chair of the committee, this group slowly dissolved over the years. However, we recently reestablished this group to review the fields and discuss the future of the Londonderry athletic facilities. The new committee conducted a tour of the property this past summer to come up with a prioritized list of issues that needed to be addressed and/or field space that needed to be completely renovated to add more usage. During the tour, the committee was able to see the many concerns our athletic department and buildings and grounds crew already had. Through our observations, many deficiencies were evident, but the most serious concern on several fields was that it appears that the base layer of the fields, and by that I mean the part of the field that you put the topsoil on, seems to be degraded, in a degraded state. The buildings and grounds crew has done their best to keep the fields playable and safe for our student athletes, but it will not be long before some of our fields become unplayable. Now that the property is mostly maxed out for new fields, coupled with the reestablishment of the new field study committee, it felt that the next charge of this committee would be to renovate the existing fields that are showing the most wear and tear. It's important to note that some of the fields are used almost 9 months of the year, 7 days per week, and throughout the year, the fields are not only used by the school district, but also by the town-wide recreation programs. To that end, I can tell you that a typical field is in our school district is used around 250 days per year, and could be more than that on some years where there's not much snowfall. Since none of the committee has expertise in field engineering, it was felt that the committee should enlist the services of a professional company that would come in and evaluate the property and then meet with the committee to establish and prioritize. The company would then put a plan of action together for us to use in renovating our existing fields. Mr. Huntress of Huntress Associates is the first field architect that we contacted to provide a proposal. He has provided the cost to evaluate the fields, which is the first step in this process. After the evaluation is complete, a presented plan will be provided to the district with details needed to make a long-term decision regarding the sustainability of the fields. Evaluating the fields now can uncover potential deficiencies, which would allow for targeted upgrades. This is a proactive measure and would minimize or eliminate the likelihood of a much larger issue in the future, which could leave us without fields to use or present a potential risk to our student athletes. Assessing the fields will ensure that resources are allocated optimally, which will benefit the district in the long run. Should also be noted that as a part of the long-term master plan of the school, we will lose one of our varsity fields. To have an efficient and long-term field plan for our athletic programs, this evaluation and proposal is the starting point to establish where those varsity programs will need to eventually play. So we're here tonight to present our request to have a professional analysis done on the athletic fields to determine the current status and to provide an improvement plan for the future. Unfortunately, Mr. Huntress wasn't able to make it tonight, but the slides he has provided will give you figures for the evaluation and a breakdown of what it costs to evaluate each field and what will be provided afterwards. Questions?
Anyone? Sarah?
I have a few questions, but I was going to wait till.
You guys, any questions, Kevin? Kevin?
I think the only question, and I could do this before or after, but as far as, you said that Huntress is the first field architect. Were we looking to get quotes from multiple field architects, or is that the only one?
We certainly can.
Okay.
Yeah. We just wanted to kind of get a ballpark range of what this would cost, yeah.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Okay, Brian.
You good? This is definitely the way to start, like we did with our building several years ago. So what I would recommend, I know you supplied us with the Huntress scope. So I'd like to take some time in the board to look through this and come up with any notes, but I think this is a good starting basis. And I would assume if the board wants to proceed, we would budget this, Dan, in the budget?
Yeah, I mean, this could definitely be something that makes it into this year's budget to kind of set us up for next year.
Yeah.
That would be, I think, the easiest way for us to handle it.
Yeah, okay. So what I would recommend, Jimmy, is to look into any other architect that you can find and get some comparable. Now that you have a scope, you can, and Alan, you may be able to help in this area, is come up with your own scope of work, kind of off of what was offered, what we're looking for, and get that comparable couple of other quotes. I know there's not many field architects in the area, but there are several. And just to compare and invite them to be part of the process, knowing that it's not guaranteed, it depends if the voters approve it. But I think this is money well spent, like we did with the master plan, to know what we have and really put some thought into, I know at some point, you know, we're talking about a turf field, so the scope of this here, I was just reading through it quickly while you were doing your introduction there, is to do test borings on the fields to see what is down there. We know we had community members, God love Bob Lincoln for what he built us here today, and gave up his summers and built a lot of these fields with limited funds. But we know that there's probably some stuff underneath that, you know, is rotted over the last 20, 25 years. That's why we're getting some movement in our fields, and it's hard to keep up with. So I look into this, that he will do some test borings and see where the fields are and can come back with a recommendation of what is salvageable, what it costs, an estimate per field. And then as a group, you could submit, you know, talk with the board a little bit more on what fields should be, depending on your load of athletics, and is there one that we don't need to invest in, and should we be looking at a turf field in the two designated areas that you're speaking about, and look at that process as well, outweighing spending money on fields if the plan is to have a artificial turf where we can utilize those fields more, even in the winter time and early spring, rather than renting space all the time. So try to incorporate all that into that when you come back in budget season. I would say if you've got a month or two now to research some cost and get some more information, and look at all those as part of that package during budget season. It would be a lot easier for us to be able to look at the full package and just what we're looking for cost-wise to know where we stand if this gets approved by the voters.
Okay.
So,
I know Bob and I are on the committee, so we kind of know more about the fields, but do you mind just explaining to the public a little bit what are some of the concerns you're seeing with some of the fields right now?
Certainly. Some of the issues that I think we noticed when we were walking the fields is we have depressions in various spots. We have fields that are no longer level. They don't have a crown on them anymore, so they tend to pond. As soon as we get rain, we can't use those areas unless we want to tear the turf up. There are certain areas that seem to be constantly sinking, so there could be old stumps under there, there could be voids, something that we need to look into, and I suggest that when they do the testing, they do the test bores, we hit the worst areas, obviously, when they're doing that, so we can see what's underneath the ground. So I would suggest we start with that and see which ones take the priority and move from there.
Okay, thank you.
anyone else? Good. Well, this is a starting point, gentlemen. I truly appreciate you bringing it in and putting the time into this, and this helps us for long-term planning in another area that that has some concern to keep up with all the athletic programs and all the youth programs that use our fields as well. So, you know, I know most people know that it's not just the high school that use these fields, that, you know, a lot of our youth programs use them as well, so they get tremendous amount of use. So appreciate you getting on top of this and looking to pre-plan rather than shut fields down. Truly appreciate it. Look forward to seeing some more information during budget season. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.